What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Climb Together podcast. I'm your host, Tony Scorpio, with my co-host, Deception. Deception, say hi.
What up?
Another week, another podcast. This is episode 112. I just want to do another shout out to y'all because last episode blew up for us. Like, not blew up, but like for us, blew up. Like, we usually average like 5 to 10 views on these things, which is fine. And we appreciate everybody that's here live too. But like the last one got like almost 250 views, which is just quite literally insane.
Really good for a podcast.
Yeah, really good for our podcast, it like smashed our previous record because our one record was like what? So let me pull up the stats real quick. I'll pull up the stats. Sure. I might not show them, but I'll pull.
Well, it's
them up.
interesting how the podcasts have been trending, because until like a couple weeks ago, the record was a podcast that came out like 3 years ago.
Yeah. Let me pull up. I can do
and
it
then
by
like
views,
a couple weeks
right?
ago, we had a podcast that passed that, and then this most recent podcast passed that one.
Yeah. So my number one. Actually, I'll show you guys. I'll show you guys. Sure, why not? Y'all can see the stats on this. Fuck it. Fuck it. So here's my my YouTube studio. You can see my videos and everything like that. So my number one viewed video still to this day is my Phase 5 submission. It's 626. Shout out to 2020 Wild Time. The next one is podcast from last week at 247. And then our original top podcast was Tamaga's episode, which was episode 10, 2022 January. So this is like over 3 years later. That was 144. We hit 154 with the Dr. Disrespect episode, because the haters hated us for that. You can tell it was like hater central by like the amount of comments. Normally we get like two, not anywhere from 0 to like maybe 2 comments on podcasts, and that one was 8, and it's got like like a really bad dislike thing. So you can tell just that it's that's what it is. But then we have this one like shattered it by almost 100. Like, it shattered the original one by over 100, and then the one that we did before by just under 100. So that's crazy. So just want to say quick shout out, thank you guys for the love on that one. We did do a little bit of a interesting episode. So podcast is going places, and I'm glad that we're here along for the ride. I still like how like the first episode is at 72 now. It's the fourth best episode is the first one, which I do like actually. That's the case. Shout out to the first episode. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. Kind of just tells you why we started this podcast. I like to listen to it every once in a while to kind of remind me anyway, why we're here and what we're doing, why we're doing it. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Let's talk about Call of Duty first. It's probably take the longest, so might as well start there. So let me just pull up the bracket real quick from this past weekend. So we did do a prediction. If you guys remember last week, we did a prediction on who we thought we were gonna win, who was gonna do what, and how they were gonna. Bracket got busted real quick. A couple people we predicted pretty decently on like what they were gonna do, how it was gonna go. A couple others, we didn't predict the winners, but we did predict like FaZe making it all the way top 3, and Surge as well. We just kind of predicted them going up against each other a little too soon. So let me pull up this bracket. Call of Duty.
Yeah, I think this event might have been one of the most busted brackets we've ever had.
Yeah. Do I have a final? Not on this one. do CDL until they always have the bracket for us. Yeah. All right. So this is the bracket that ended up being. So I have our bracket pulled up on my other monitor here for comparison. So we had, this is where we instantly kind of went wrong. We had most of the winners bracket right, except for Thieves versus Breach, which was opposite of what we thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
We thought that Thieves was going to do what Thieves do, and they were gonna bring the heat. They did not bring the heat.
I'm starting to wonder if these are onliners because
It's
they utterly destroy people online, and then they struggle a little bit online.
Yeah. So that was our initial kind of like, it kind of like messed up our bracket a little bit.
Like, I really thought after their stage 2 split, they would come into this major and just like be ready to dominate. And
yeah,
I don't know what happened.
But they got like knocked out pretty quick though. They got knocked down to losers bracket, made a good run. I mean, it kind of like busted our Ravens run that we always like to call. And I did fuck up the bracket again and had the wrong people playing the wrong people, I think. No, I didn't. Because Ultra lost. Oh, yeah. Ultra lost to Cloud9. We also messed that up, too. I was not expecting that one either. Usually, like, that's... yeah, our bracket got real busted real quick. It's not even... I don't think it's worth looking at this point.
Yeah. It was... Especially the losers bracket was...
Yeah.
The losers bracket was scary.
Yeah, so, I mean, LA Thieves made a good run. Ultra made a good run. I think they just had a bad first round back to LAN. It seems like they both made it to the elimination round 4 against each other, with Ultra moving forward against Surge. I think Surge did amazing this major. They might have got 4-0'd in the grand finals, but FaZe was just like on a totally different level. They were just on like a total heater, and I don't think anyone was gonna put them out. There was no touching them. Even Simp was like, how am I playing this good?
Surge getting 4-0'd. Funny little coincidence here. Surge getting 4-0'd means that both of the only current non-NA based teams, as in like their actual location. Now both the Canadian teams in Surge and Ultra have now been swept in grand finals.
Oh.
Surge got swept at this major, and then obviously
Ultra.
The most infamous sweep probably ever was Ultra getting manhandled by the subliners at Champs.
Yeah. It's just it's interesting. I don't know. I don't think I was we really weren't. I mean, we were kind of expecting Surge to kind of take it that far. Definitely not.
I was expecting at least like top 4.
Yeah,
maybe
I mean,
top 3. I didn't quite expect grand finals, but
we had them top 3 on our bracket. But definitely I was shocked that they made it to grand finals, and I'm impressed, really. I mean, the team is a bunch of, there's a lot of rookies, like not rookies, but like second year pros on that team. And they're doing really well. I mean, they 3-1'd Ultra, which is, one of the top teams in the league. And they went up against FaZe twice. And first time held their own, 3-2, but the second time I think FaZe was just like cooking, and there was no stopping them. They wanted that major win, and they got it. I think there's some certain things to, consider for a lot of different teams. I mean, Falcons, no surprise there. They got 3-0'd. Rocker also got 3-0'd, and the losers. Heretics out. LAG out as well. Heretics was the only one to put up a map in round 1. So it's looking like these are kind of our bottom four teams, depending on the day. Really,
It's just
Heretics,
so
I
weird because
think,
like Heretics are so inconsistent.
yeah,
Like
sometimes they're really
I
freaking
feel like
good.
if they played similar to how they played in the stage, they would have maybe done pretty well. Maybe got like at least one series win. But
Yeah.
like I feel like they're also like kind of in the same vein as Thieves, where it's like they can surprise people online, but
hmm
then they get to land and they just can't do anything.
I think Heretics just has like a lot of potential as a team. Um, they're definitely on land. They're definitely bottom four, but I mean online they're definitely better than a lot of other teams. Which kind of sucks to see them get crapped on like that essentially. But I mean, with Falcons, Rocker, and LAG being at the bottom, I mean, this is no shock. Um, Especially with how good these teams are in the top. Um, uh, yeah. So and I think two things that kind of were really shocking was Thieves just kind of like going pretty good. They 3-0-1, 3-0, 3-0, and then they got 0-3-0'd by Ultra, and they kind of fell apart in that series. I kind of was listening to the watch party, the Scump watch party. Nate Chat was on it during the Thieves versus Ultra match. So it was like Saturday, I think. I was at work, so I needed something to listen to and watch while I was chopping vegetables. And this was it all weekend. So I actually watched the major this time. I know, weird, right? Um, it's they kind of just like they couldn't close. They couldn't close any of the matches out, which was sad. I mean, Ultra was just cooking. They were hot as well. I mean they beat Optic, which I feel like is always just like a good, you know, mental thing. I mean, I know Optic's kind of in a weird spot right now. They're not really winning to anybody other than like the really bad teams in the league, but even then though, like going like winning against them at their own home tournament, it just gives you that like boost. But these
Yeah.
just weren't. Thieves were not at full form this weekend, and it definitely showed. And they were talking on there about how like if this team could be at their potential, they would be the best team in the league. But they just aren't. There's something missing, and nobody really knows what that is. I don't even think they know what it is. Maybe they do, but I don't know. And then the next one being like Optic. I mean, we were kind of hoping, with the. I mean, I think we kind of all knew that with the roster change, it was going to be a long shot for them to make it far in the bracket.
I'm glad they got one series win.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely better than what they've been doing. So, I mean, they looked good with Skies on the team. Um, you know, even though it was against Rocker, they still looked good. I mean, they kind of tried. They tried to hold their own against Ultra. I think Ultra just is. I mean, what are you gonna do? You've got like less than a week to play with a new player, and try to make something happen. We'll get
Yeah, I'm
more into
kind of
them.
like Skies kind of fell apart against
Yeah.
Ultra and just was not playing very well. And I'm glad that people didn't really try to scapegoat him for that. I'm glad that for once people understood that like they didn't have a lot of time to work with. So um, it was disappointing to see Skies not playing that great, but it all honestly wasn't like super surprising. Um, honestly, like if Ultra don't lose that series, I think Optic do finish in that top 6 spot like we predicted.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like Ultra losing that series was just like, yeah, it's scary.
Yeah. Because I mean, I think it just I think the team like I feel like with Thieves and Ultra just had a slow start, um, initially. It's not that they deserve to be in
Yeah,
elimination
that's
round
really
one.
bad for the losers bracket.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you have like if you have one of the top seeds in the winners bracket lose, it's the losers bracket scary.
yeah. I mean, I think they just had a slow start, but then they got cooking a little bit. I think that's what we were kind of waiting from them. Um, but it is what it is. Um, I think Optic has, made some. We'll talk about it a little bit more after, but they've made some more changes. And it was good to see Skies, working with the team. I mean, they seem to have their moments, in like spotlights of greatness, which is good. And then they did have that one win, which is
They
like
definitely looked a little more in sync
yeah.
than before.
Yeah, I mean, we did talk about it last time too. There really is nowhere else to go but up for them in that roster. So, I mean, they proved that
I
they
mean,
went
they
up.
need to go up because, like Scump was talking about on the watch party, they like if they don't perform super well and they keep like and they do as even like not as badly, but if they don't like improve significantly, there is a chance that they don't make champs, and
Mm-hmm.
that's really scary. Because right now, I think they're like fifth or sixth in the standings, but like
Yeah.
they're not super far out of eighth.
So, I mean, I think there's time for them to kind of, get some things together and figure some things out. I think it's just gonna take a minute for them to kind of recompose themselves and put themselves back in a good spot as a team. For them to be able to um make those changes to that they need to be able to compete at that level, which kind of leads us into our next little bit. um so there's been some leaks about like some roster changes. um so we've got, I don't know who he came in for. Oh, okay, yeah. So as of last night, there were some rumors that Predwood was going to be replaced on the starting lineup. They thought it was going to be real from Heretics, but turns out Optic is going back to good old Hook here. Hold on, my thing messed up.
I definitely think this is like a good move because honestly, I don't know if they should have gotten rid of Hook in the first place. Granted, they didn't play that great at Major One with him,
Hmm.
but um, I mean they played great online, which I mean that's not apparently this season. That's not a great indicator of anything. Um, but when you look at like their stats and stuff with Hook, they were just really good
Yeah.
with him, and then they they ended up bringing Pred back, and had, I don't
It
know.
all
I
just
don't know
kind of fell
what's up
apart.
with. I don't know what's up with like. I don't know what's up with them and Pred, or like if it's like a whole team thing now, or if it's like Pred again, or what. But like whatever's happening with Pred, like they need to get that ironed out, or just like sit him out for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Because at this point, if I'm like at this point, if I'm looking at it from we want to do well perspective, I don't want Pred back the rest of the season.
Yeah. I
Like
feel like he needs to figure out what he wants to do or needs to do.
whatever's happening, like I don't know if like if he came back and the move just didn't sit well or whatever, but like they need to figure it out,
Yeah.
and they just need to
Figure it out
they
quick.
just need to let him chill for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you want your championship team to be together, but I mean, if they're not being a championship team,
I mean, they're not even fully together now
yeah.
because now it's Shotzi, Dashy, Hook, and Skies.
Hmm. So I mean, and you can't deny like that Shotzi's like one and Dashi are like two of the best in the game. Um, I mean, these are all these guys are like the best in the game. I mean, this is why they're at where they're at, but they're just they've got some undeniable talent, and I think you just need to make something happen with it. And I think with Hook, I mean, him and Shotzi have been teammates before a lot, and I think he was on the roster with Dashi too. I don't remember which game it was, but it was like recently, right? Or am I'm just bugging?
Uh,
I don't know. Hook's kind of been like all over the place. He hasn't really stayed on one team for very long.
His whole COD career's been everywhere because like he popped
Different.
up in Advanced Warfare when he was like 15,
Yeah.
and he was really good. Um, and like everybody was like on watch for him, but then like the CWL happened, and then they had it went from you only had to be over 18 for champs, and you like under 18 players could play, to everybody had to be over 18. So like all those really good guys like in Ghosts and AW that came up, like TJ Hook. um I mean, I wouldn't say he was like very notable at the time, but Kenny was playing in AW. um like all those guys all of a sudden became ineligible to play
Mm-hmm.
COD, so they just disappeared. And then right
Went to
around the
Halo.
time World War II came out, yeah, they all went over to play Halo basically. Right around the time World War II came out, they all came back, and they were all like really good.
Yeah. I mean, Hook does have a championship under his belt from the Dallas Empire in Modern Warfare 19. So I think he's a good addition to their roster. As far as where Kenny's going, I mean, it's rumored that he could be going to the Royal Ravens. I was kind of expecting him to kind of take the rest of the season off, but I mean, going to one of these lower tiered teams, I think he can bring a lot. I'm not. Um, I think he has like he's a lot to offer teams. I think there might have been just some sort of vibe energy thing going on with the Optic roster that kind of got him out of his head. But going on to a lower team, he has a lot of skills to bring in the leadership department. I feel like that's like where he shines and where he's kind of developed as a player. He's a really good leader. He's really good like just like IGL. He like calls plays. He thinks about things that normal people don't really think about in the game. And he's really like he's really particular about it. That's one of the things I like about Kenny. I'm a particular person. I like things done the right way or the way that they should be done. And he's kind of like has that same kind of essence to him, and it shows in the way that he plays. So I think adding him to the Ravens finally might give them that like kick, especially being with like Tej. I don't know who he's gonna go in and replace on the roster, but
I think he'll be good for Ravens.
I think so too. Actually, let me.
I hope that he like transitions well and plays well, but like I think if he makes a big difference on the Ravens and kind of can get them consistently back in that form they were at in the very beginning of the season, like they could be a serious threat to win an event and be more solidified in the top 4 or 5 teams, rather than it was like, oh, the Ravens are great, and now they're like, oh, the Ravens are not that good anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to think who he would go in for. Because I don't think it would be
I don't know if they would
Slasher or
replace
Tej.
Gwen right now, but like, I don't know. I feel like maybe Vivid. I don't know if they would want to get rid of Gwen. They seem very invested in Gwen, but
Yeah. Because it definitely wouldn't be Slasher or Tej. I feel like Tej is kind of like core person on the team, and Slasher's just been like that steady. He's AR, right? He's just been like a steady.
Seconds, last pushed in towards A.
Yeah. Well, maybe. So either Gwen or Vivid is what he's gonna come in for. I just don't know what. Who we would best replace, honestly. But it'll be interesting to see what actually happens. I mean, I never really know. These are all just rumors, and so I mean, these are pretty credible sources. But one of them said that Real was gonna replace Pred, and Hook did. So sometimes you never know. Yeah. But what else is going on here? I think these people are gonna go back to the drawing board, especially after this week, and with new maps being added. with Skyline and Vault S&D being taken out, and then Rewind and Dealership S&D being put in. I'm gonna have to really grind these new maps. Deception said an awesome quote that I think is pretty funny. I'm just gonna put it up there for you guys. Replied to the TDL said, "Let's hit Rewind on Rewind." That was clever. Deception, I'll give that to you.
I just think it's funny that like Rewind was in for Hardpoint S&D and everything in the beginning, and then they took it out, and now it's back.
Yep. They're like, actually, we want to keep it. But yeah, so new maps. So got those of you that play, get to grinding, because these new maps are gonna be insane. Oh, don't
It's
want
gonna
to
be
that.
very interesting.
Keep doing that on
The
accident.
only thing that I don't
Jesus.
like about this is these maps are not gonna be put in until Major 4 qualifiers. Like, why make this announcement now if they're not put in until Major 4 qualifiers?
So people can start.
And why, if
playing
you're gonna
them.
make the announcement now, why not play the maps now?
It gives people time to like prep,
I don't know. I just feel like making a map change that late, because Major 4 is the last major. Like, making a map, I don't know. I don't really think map changes should be made after like Major 3.
Yeah.
Because then you have like a more like stable map set for like getting ready for champs. Like now it's like teams aren't going to be playing league matches or anything on these new maps until Major 4.
It's true. You do be having a point there with that one. But I don't know. I think the major was definitely something interesting. It was definitely a good watch. I mean, I was hoping for a little bit more of a competitive like final little bit there, at the grand finals, but overall, it was good close to major stage 2. As we go into stage 3, I feel like there's some other things that'll be happening. But yeah. So moving forward, talking more a little bit about COD, I think this is something that we haven't really touched much on the podcast specifically, but I think that's something that's going to be really huge. It's the fact that they're bringing Verdansk back to the game, which might actually get me back on Warzone, because I freaking love Verdansk and I miss it so much. It's some of it's nostalgia, some of it's just it's a good map. Kind of taking us back to 2021 when people first like rumblings of like people wanting a new map kind of came up and about. A lot of people are like, we need a new map, this is getting stale. Well, the bad decision that was for us to want, because they gave us new maps, they just sucked. Comparison, usually when people ask for a new map, they want a better map, not a worse one. So the fact that we're getting this back after all these years kind of gives some hope for me personally as a player. I mean, obviously, I think they need to. Yeah, there's a couple things that they need to do, but like cheating situation for the higher level players. Me, on the other hand, I don't really face that very much. It's one of the benefits of only playing every once in a while, and doing the camo grind, so I don't face many cheaters. So makes my experience a little bit more enjoyable. And then anyone who opens the Call of Duty Warzone game menu during the time of the launch of Verdansk will receive the Kilo 141 for free. And they're also doing
that's a really cool little like. I mean, I kind of wish they wouldn't have said that. Or like said what the unlock was, and maybe they were just like, "Oh, you guys should try opening it while we're in downtime."
Yeah.
But like, it's still like a really cool little like almost Easter egg thing, where it's like, "Oh, like if you're antsy to play Warzone, try opening the menu just so you can get kicked out." But oh, you get the Kilo when it actually opens.
Yeah. So next Wednesday. So after the we'll remind you on the podcast to open the game so you can get the Kilo back for free. For free. They're also doing like they're giving away free stuff just for logging into the game for the next like 7 days up until the launch of season 3. And then you get like free gifts every day in the game too. Like they're really trying to get people back into the game and by giving away free cosmetics. which I don't mind. You know, as someone who doesn't spend a lot of money on video games, this is just great for me and great for my bank account. Um, it's really great for my bank account. I love free stuff. But I don't know. I think Warzone might be, you know, with the return of the map, it'll definitely see an uptick. I think. I mean, kind of we saw this with OG Fortnite. I mean, we take a look back into when OG Fortnite first came back out in the original map. It brought back a lot of players. And then the same thing
especially content-wise for Dance, because it's gonna be insane.
Yeah.
Like, as long as it's not like insanely broken to where like people have trouble having a good experience game to game. As long as it's not like that, the sheer content that people are gonna make on this map is gonna be insane.
And that's, I think, I mean, we've talked about this before, but I'll say it again. Content drives player count. Honestly, in this time, of like everyone being on the internet and consuming content constantly, people creating content around a video game is what brings more people to the game. So I think with everyone trying to hop on, play the new game, do videos on it, it'll give everybody FOMO, and they're gonna want to get back on the game and have some fun, which is part of the great pieces of Call of Duty is just like the nostalgic aspect of it as well. When they bring back old maps, I mean, you see it with like Raid and all that fun stuff. So, yeah. What was I trying to say? I don't know. I was gonna say something, but I forgot. But anyway, I think they're definitely gonna. This is gonna work. I think in a way that they want it to. I don't think it's gonna work all the way, but it'll be close to like to getting them back into having a little bit more people play the game consistently. Especially with the new edition of the map. So, what else? What's going on in the world right now? I did not really like prepare much for this today. I've been like on the grind recently. It's been crazy life. RCD, back to CDL quick. RCD is expected to sign with a Minnesota rocker to get him back up in the main lineup. There's a lot of roster. What?
He definitely should help.
Yeah.
RCDs has been like, I've always been like a fan of RCDs, but he's kind of been in and out of the league ever since he got dropped by FaZe.
Yeah.
At the end of Vanguard.
But
so it's been a little rough for him, but we'll see.
I think there's a lot of different. We're gonna see some good things, and it seems like Falcons is getting a new roster as well. We're gonna see a lot of roster changes over the next couple days, and I think hopefully.
I will be utterly shocked if Falcons sign a non-Saudi player.
Yeah, I don't think they will.
I'll be very happy for them if they do, because they desperately need that.
I mean, I think they're gonna stick with it. Honestly, I think that's part of like what they want, like what their mission is. But Zuma kind of like low-key leaked their new roster a little bit. I don't know.
They field NA rosters in other games. So surely they're gonna do the same thing here, right?
Like,
because there's no way the Falcons.
If we had like a CDL draft or something, I would be happy for Falcons. I'd be like, okay, keep losing, y'all be fine.
Keep losing.
You're gonna really good pick, and you'll be great.
You're gonna get good picks.
We don't have a draft, so like, why are you tanking? What's happening?
Yeah, come on, be better, do better. Come on. But I mean, what are you gonna do? I think it's just something that they just have to either have to drop the roster or do something, because they're 0-14.
Trust the process.
It's not good. So bad. They just can't win. And
I don't think they've won a hard point.
No, they're 0-4. They're 0-14 in hard point. They're 2-7 in each
They
S&D, and then they're
they
3-6 in
been
control.
really bad.
Yeah. Let me see.
The
here.
only mode that they are half decent at is S&D, but like
Yeah.
it's not. I won't say it's not difficult to be good at S&D, but like that's how it is with basically every team. Is like basically every team can be good at S&D.
Yeah.
Respawn is where it comes in.
Trying to find okay. So for Falcons, I'm just gonna pull it up for chat here. So here's their player cards. Not great. They have an overall record of 0-9 for the season, which is just crazy. They're just not putting up any numbers. They're all negative KD. Their kill time is just like none of them have over 50 seconds. Like one of them has like just over 50 seconds worth of kill time. It's just not. It's not working out. I think the way that they needed to. I mean,
Really, the only guy that has a positive KD anywhere is Extended in Control.
Yeah.
But he's like him and like Kicks are the two best players they've had.
Yeah. So I mean, this is just they're gonna have to do some rethinking. I mean, Zuma kind of talked about it in his there's a clip of them talking about it, saying that Falcons has fielded some NA teams before, and they might need to consider doing it again if they want to see anything happen here. I mean, even just
look at their Warzone team that they put up for World Series of Warzone in the Esports World Cup. They absolutely destroyed everybody.
Yep.
They literally they didn't lose a map. And I'm not meaning like they didn't get the most points. Like they won the BR of every map that they played.
Yeah.
Like they were
They were
insanely
literally
good.
the Esports World Cup champions last year. Like that's and to go from that to like being really bad in Call of Duty and being the worst team I think Call of Duty has seen in a while is not a good look. And that's saying something because I think it's just the spot, because it was to the Legion before, and the Legion just didn't go. It was just the spot's cursed. I think the spot that they have is just cursed because before it was the Vegas Legion, formerly Paris Legion, and they just never were able to hit their stride. So I think that's just kind of been the team that just gets bottom of the barrel every year. Honestly, which is sad, but what you gonna do?
I mean, it's kind of a thing of like there's got to be a team that finishes first, and there's got to be a team that finishes last.
Yep.
That's
And it just happens
how
to
it
be the
goes.
same team finishing last every
But
year.
it's just like you could do something to prevent yourself from finishing last.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if Falcons picked up like the best challengers team, they could probably beat at least LAG.
Yeah.
But like they're so far back now because they have they literally have 0 points. They are so far back now
Mhm.
that I don't think in the overall standings, even if they do make a change, that they will get out of 12th.
No.
Like,
but I think it'll
it
show.
will utterly shock me if they make a change this split where if they make a change where they pick up somebody that's not Saudi, then I could see maybe them winning a few series here and there. But like, if they try to stick with this whole just all Saudi team idea, I would be utterly shocked if they win a series.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's just it sucks to just. I just wish like all of that. Because we just talked about how like a couple weeks ago, like the depth of the league is getting better. I mean, it's still not great, but still a lot of
Well,
like
it's a
to
thing
go.
of like
But
I totally respect the play where they try to have an all Saudi team. Like that's great. Um, having a diverse worldwide league, even though CDL's barely like even scratching the surface of they're not even out of NA now. Um, but having like a trying to have as much of a worldwide ish league as possible is great. But when it's not working, it's not working. Like
yeah,
you just gotta hang it up. Like we saw what happened with Ravens and Legion. Like Legion never really had a full French team, but they had like full EU teams.
yeah.
But
Same
the
thing with
Ravens had
Ravens.
full EU teams for a while they're pretty good. But
Ravens were
like
really good
they
in like the beginning.
recognized when they weren't doing well that they needed to
Make a
not
change.
stick with that. They needed to actually make a meaningful change.
I mean, I think as like the team that they are, I think they're gonna give it, probably more than a year, honestly. Try out a couple different players and see what they can make happen. But I think at some point they have to kind of consider like, because at the end of the day, like being in the East, like the Call of Duty League is a pretty decently sized investment to be in. I mean, I know that they're like a well established team. They have lots of different teams and lots of different esports. But at the same time, they have to be like, okay, like, is this worth our time and energy and money that we're pouring into this and investing in this if we just keep getting last place? And I think that's kind of why the organization behind the Legion pulled out and let them kind of come in, because it wasn't worth it. Kind of same thing with Energy pulling out when Optic kind of came back in because the whole reason Energy was there was because Optic was there, and it was just like this whole thing. And so with the True Optic being back, it's just like they didn't see a point of them being there. Um, I think they can give it maybe another year. I think at the end of next year, by this point next year, if they're still not doing good with an all Saudi team, they should definitely make a
I think they
switch.
should they should blow it up at the end of this. If they want to stick with it to the end of the season, I kind of respect it, even though they're probably not going to win a series. But like, if they try an all Saudi team and bring their absolute best, and they don't perform well at like the kickoff or whatever ends up happening next season, then blow it up. Get NA players.
Yeah, I'd say give it the first stage. I say give it the first stage, and then
I
after the
wouldn't even
first
get a first
stage.
stage. I would not dare start the season as badly as they have.
I mean, I think
Again,
I think what they should do is they should blow up the roster over the summer, stay all Saudi, and then, you know, give it the first stage and be like, okay, um, is this worth it? Are we still not winning a single match? And if they're still not winning a single match, I say blow it up and go all NA. But I think either way, they kind of have to take a look and see like what are they doing, what do they need to do to get their teams better. Whether that's off season grinding like nobody's business just to make them better players, or finding people that have like, because there's certain things that like aren't video game specific, like leadership skills or just like the way people think about certain things, um, that aren't necessarily gonna translate initially into a game, but could once that person kind of like, you know, grinds the game. And I feel like if they find the right people, maybe that are lower level that have those things and kind of boot camp them over the off season and get them ready to play come like November, December, I think that might be a better option for them at this point. Just because what they're doing right now is not working.
I'm sure Clay is in shambles.
Oh yeah.
He put all this burden on to coach them, and it's just it's
Yes.
not going well.
No, it is not.
Clay's having it rough.
It's okay though. He's just, being a retired guy. Chill retired guy.
I am glad that Clay made it past 30.
Me too.
Be the first 30-year-old COD pro.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah.
I'm glad he made it that far.
But think he's just I I saw this thing. It was just, let me see if I can scroll back up and find it. It's it's from one of the like meme accounts for the CDL. In his last efforts to save the team, Falcons coach Clayster has forcefully fed one of his championship rings to Exnid. Eat this, you fucking, and you'll feel the winner within you.
Honestly, if they were to keep one Saudi player on the team, I'd either keep him or bring Hicks back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because those guys are legitimately, like, I think they have the potential to be actually good. But, like, the rest of the people they've had on the team, nah.
Yeah. I think I mean, if their goal is to get more people from, around the world into the league, I feel like doing it a whole team at a time is proving to be difficult. Um, with the examples of Falcons and
A whole team at a
Heretics.
time in a region where, yeah, COD is becoming prevalent, but, like, I wouldn't say there
I feel
are
like COD is just so
many
like
CDL caliber players there.
yeah. COD is very like an NA game, and and the thing is like us and NA we have our strengths and we have our weaknesses within games. Like a lot of like PC games aren't quite our thing. Like traditional PC games like CS, that kind of stuff.
I would say
Overwatch.
CS is probably the biggest PC game we've had.
But I still feel like most of like especially for a while, like NA teams really weren't the ones winning. It was EU and like overall. I mean, it's still like a big esport within the US, but I feel like we're just not like the best teams, right? And I feel like
It's like the biggest thing about COD is like it's basically the opposite of like almost every other esport. Like basically every other esport is either a very close split between EU and NA, or well the rest of the world and NA, or NA is just like
so
not
bad.
that great outside of like a few
One or
people
two teams
or a couple teams.
Yeah.
But like COD for basically the entirety up until the last like 2 or 3 years has just been all NA. Like
Yeah.
it rarely has a full EU team ever made it very far. Like I remember it was like back in like Ghosts and stuff when teams like Epsilon or TCM would finish like top 4, it was crazy. Like it was insane. Like that was amazing. And then like in 2016 in BO3 when Splice made it to grand finals as a full EU team, that was insane. I mean, did they get destroyed by Envy? Yeah, but it was crazy that an EU team made it to grand finals. And then like in World War II, it started around World War II is when you started seeing like it started trickling in that EU players started getting chances to play with other NA players. I mean, first of all, the very first time this happened, not in a prominent manner, but the very first time this ever happened, by the way, this is something that Optic will forever be in the history books for. Optic was the first team to ever sign an EU player to an NA team. And that was back in Advanced Warfare. But in World War II, you started seeing it kind of trickle into where really good NA players were starting to get, or really good EU players were starting to get shots on NA teams. Like Zero played on FaZe for a while. He did in BO4 too, but then they went down. They went down to Red Reserve, and like Red was really good in World War II, and then like Zero went back to FaZe in BO4. They were pretty good. But you really didn't until the last few years. Like Ultra was really the first team that like really, really did well with the EU players. And now I would say that even though most teams are still NA and like teams are based in NA, COD has a pretty decent international presence in terms of their players now.
Yeah. But I don't know. I feel like there's I think part of it too, like, is like the amateur scene, because like there used to be like a pretty good presence of like international players. I mean, it wasn't like a lot, but it was like a decent amount. Um, I can't really think of many names off the top of my head, because I don't want to fuck up the names. But um, even those teams that were EU, they were pretty good. Like the initial like Royal Ravens team. Um, but I think part of that is like the way that Challengers is kind of set up. It is very NA dominant. Um, especially with like the LAN like Challengers Elite. You know.
Yeah,
Um,
Challengers is definitely still stuck in the early COD days of being mostly NA.
yeah. So I feel like
You
that kind of
basically like if you're a CDL team and you want a good EU player, you either gotta scout them out from the EU and bring them here to play in the CDL, give them a shot, or like do what Optic did, which was grab an EU team and bring them over here and they play NA Challengers.
yeah. And you know what, that might have to be the case. I mean, it's just there's not a good challenger system outside any, I think, at this point, or it's just not like it's not fair
It's
and
not
to
even good
get
in NA anymore.
no. So
Challengers is just really bad
yeah,
now.
so it's like just not, it's not a good feeding system into the main league. And I think there's some changes that need to happen for it to go back international. I think as soon as we went CDL, it just kind of like got rid of a lot of the very little amount of the internationality that the game and the player
As soon
base
as
does
we went
have.
to CDL, it got rid of just any recognition in general for players that weren't already in the league or already on notice
Yeah.
by people. Like, because now that we don't have like open tournaments where 500 teams can show up and a random team can have a chance to play against the pros, nobody's getting noticed.
Mm-mm.
Nobody knows who these people are in challengers that are like top 64 or whatever that could genuinely be good enough to play in the CDL.
Because
Nobody
they
knows who
don't.
they are because we don't get to see them play against the pros.
And the only like time we do get to see that is like the top four, challengers teams playing at, the EWC. But even then,
Yeah,
like
and
how
like
much
it's
proof is
hard to
that?
even get a player in a really low challengers team that could be really good up there because who knows, maybe like that person is just way better than their
Mhm.
teammates and they can't get good teammates because like the other challengers teams are probably like, oh, that one guy's really good but his teammates are bad, so I don't know if I want to play with him.
Yeah. I think what they could do, and I think that would be beneficial to the CDL, and I'm kind of gonna say this is kind of like the last point here as we're kind of rounding out. Um, I think what would be beneficial for them is if they want to keep this challenger system, make it so that once a year, like once a season, whether that's kind of like midway through, like kind of after Major 2, like kind of at this point in the year, um, where a lot of teams are like, okay, we're halfway through the season, a lot of them are making roster changes. It's kind of like, you know a good time for them this to happen after Major 2, or before Major 2, um or have it be Major 2. um do an open like that. Do an open where you have 500 teams that just play against each other. It's a grueling day, and um play, to see who can, play through Thursday through Sunday, games all day, ABC streams, and just like let them gruel it out. And I
Yeah.
feel like we'll see a very different top 12 than what is the CDL right now.
I just really wish that they at least did it like I wish they at least did it like BO4 where it was like the top 8 are basically guaranteed to stay in the league. But then the bottom 4 is a toss up because they would have cuz like back in BO4 they had relegation tournaments at the end of every uh well they only had like 2 seasons technically of the pro league back
Mm.
then. It'd be a lot different now, but it'd be cool if they had relegation tournaments after every major where like let's say the bottom four CDL teams and the top 4 challengers teams play a tournament at like an 18 bracket, that style,
Mm.
basically the same as a major, and whoever the top 4 are make it. So it could be that the bottom 4 CDL teams are not good enough to be in the top 8, but they destroy the top 4 challengers teams, so they stay in.
Mm-hmm.
Or the top 4 challengers teams come in and surprise everybody, and boom, we've moved 4 teams in and 4 teams out.
And I think another possibility too is if they want to kind of keep this like separate league, I guess, for like some sort of stability for the franchises. If you look at like the national, like if you look at the NFL and the NBA, I mean, they both have a the NBA has like 30 teams and the NFL has like 32. So I mean, there's and then the the NFL splits it into conference. There's different conferences and stuff like that. That play throughout the season, and at the end they'll come together and do the champs. Do the finals. Championship kind of stuff. So I mean, but like they're both around like the same 30, 32 mark, and these are successful ways of doing franchise teams. In some sort of like sports format. I mean, this is traditional sports, and there's a difference between that and esports. But I feel like we have too little amount. 12 is not enough teams. 12 is not enough teams to actually like see good competition, to fuel that competition, and to see certain things. I mean, yes, the teams would have to play more, but I feel like that it's necessary. It's necessary to add more teams. I think that's something that they're missing, and it would add a lot more competitive value to the to the league. And I feel like we would see a lot of different teams coming together and a lot of different. I think that's where you kind of get the depth within the league. Is just more teams, and then more chances for upsets. There's more of a spot to grind. You're not guaranteed to just stay in the league. And then just kind of like, there's 32 esports teams. That's quite a lot, but it's also like not a lot at the same time because you have like hundreds of teams that enter into these opens.
Yeah, I wish that no matter how many teams we had in the CDL, like I don't care if it was just 8, if it was 12, if we expand to 16, if we ended up getting to 32, I don't care. I just wish we had open tournaments. I just wish if every tournament was an open tournament, even the minors, it would be amazing. Like that would be the perfect. Like you can keep the CDL system, but if all the tournaments were at least open, that would be like an amazing fix for the problem.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. But I mean, we're not the CDL, and we can only have so much. You can only have so much influence on what's happening. But yeah. So thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode. We're gonna have to cut it here. Good discussions today about the CDL and different things. But yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate y'all. Again, thank you so much for all the views on the previous podcast. You've been knocking it out of the park recently on those. We appreciate it. Stay tuned because we've got more coming your way. Exception, say bye.
Bye.
See you guys next time. Peace.